it's time to go over some of the finer details.
The Croods was released on February 15th, 2013 at the Berlin International Film Festival. Quick fact, it had its premiere in the out of competition section at the 63rd Berlin International Film Festival, and it was the first full-length animated feature to be shown at that festival. I don't know why they chose to put it there, but I don't know, international attention. I feel like animated films really do well with the international audience, especially because they can translate it to whatever they want and just change the mouth movements and stuff. It's like super easy to do that now, especially now. I don't know about 2013, but I would assume even back then, because it was digital animation, probably wasn't that hard to change it for international audiences.
Yeah.
But that kind of explains why it made so much money. It had its full release on March 22nd, 2013, with a budget of $135 to $175 million. Never understand that those varying budgets. Like they don't actually know how much it costs. I don't know. Something feels fishy
Hollywood
when you see that. Yeah. But it grossed $587.2 million.
Shit.
Which is a full $130 million more than National Treasure 2, which was our previous highest grossing film. That is nuts. A $600 million movie in 2013, and it's not even that good.
No.
It's not even great. I mean, I guess it's the power of getting the kids out of the house.
Yeah, it's a family picture.
Yeah.
I mean,
anything to get you to shut the fuck up for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's why Nigel
Just go
to see Garfield.
Some lights and colors of 5 dun 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 jokes from a talking sloth. There you go, 600 million.
God damn.
This was directed by Chris Sanders and Kirk D'Amico. This is pretty common with animated films. They separate it into 2 camps for the directors. There's usually somebody who's over the visuals and the animation and all that kind of stuff, and then there's somebody who's over the performances and sound and all that kind of stuff. So it's sort of separated out into two different camps. Sanders actually directed Lilo and Stitch, and then he went on to do How to Train Your Dragon, which he also wrote. He has also been an executive producer on all of the How to Train Your Dragon films, including the upcoming live-action version, which we'll see how that does.
Didn't even know about that.
Yeah, they're apparently doing a kind of a version of the first film.
Yeah.
But live action, which will inevitably spawn 2 more sequels after that. Gotta wonder who's gonna play the kid in that one. You could just have Jay Baruchel do it now.
Yeah.
He still looks the same.
He's forever young. It's probably
and
one
you
of
could
those
have what's his face from 300. He could be the dad.
Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler. Yeah.
It'd probably be one of the Stranger Things kids.
Yeah,
plays the
that's
dude.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Hope it's
Jay
Dusty.
Baruchel's 42 years old now.
Wow.
And he looks 16.
He still looks 16, yeah.
Lucky son of a
I'd
bitch.
say his 20s. I wouldn't say teen, but yeah, it's still.
Yeah, I saw that weed, man. It preserves you. Chris Sanders also wrote the story treatments for the original 90s Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King for Disney. That's why I wore my Walt Disney shirt today. D'Amico
Awesome.
didn't have quite the huge career. He wrote and directed Space Chimps. You guys remember Space Chimps?
God, thank God Nick Cage wasn't in that one.
Wow.
And recently did that Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken movie that just came out not too long ago. I didn't hear anything positive or negative about it. It just kind of was, and then it was not anymore. It just happened, and then it was gone. I don't know.
I have no clue what the hell that movie is.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Forgotten already. This was written by Chris Sanders and what's his name? Kirk D'Amico. But They also, the original story was written by the legendary Monty Python Fawlty Towers star, John Cleese.
Yeah, I saw that in the
saw that.
credits. It's like, what
And I thought, what the hell? Yeah.
Yeah, a little weird, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that is weird. He's going to be at a con I'm going to this month, so I might try and
nice.
get
Ask
his
him about
autograph
it, dude.
and be like,
That-
hey, will you sign my copy of the Croods?
And then ask him, how did they take whatever you wrote and turn it into that?
I don't have a copy of the Croods, actually, so no, I won't be doing that.
Well, your birthday's coming up, so maybe you'll receive one.
This was shot by no one because it's animated, but the greatest cinematographer of all time, in my opinion, Roger Deakins, was actually brought in as a visual consultant for this.
Really?
Which doesn't show at all.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, I guess he was just looking at the storyboards and being like, "Yeah, looks all right."
yeah, like, hey, how would you film this if we were,
Yeah.
if there was a giant rift opening in the world and lava and stuff and a bunch of smoke? How would you film it?
I mean, it does not have the hallmarks of Roger Deakins.
No, not at all.
In the slightest. So yeah, a lot of times when they bring people in as visual consultants or consultants of any kind, it's pretty loose. It's just like, yeah, he dropped by the set for a minute, and we wanted to put his name in the credits as a consultant.
Yeah, I feel like he could have contributed to better shot sequences and framing specifically.
I mean,
some of the framing in this movie was just a little jarring.
He's
Yeah.
very, very busy, so I would say, he probably was there for a couple days. I doubt he had much input on this thing.
Yeah, maybe just like you said, just storyboard. Just went through the storyboard and had them read.
Maybe gave them a few notes here and
Yeah.
there, but
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
imagine him doing much.
Jesus.
Roger Deakins may look like a full-grown Oompa Loompa. He has shot some of the most visually spectacular films of the last 40 years. He's been nominated for 16 Academy Awards. Just recently won his first one, which I believe was Blade Runner 2049. But then he followed that up like a year, maybe 2 years later with 1917. But very briefly, he shot The Shawshank Redemption, Fargo, The Big Lebowski, A Beautiful Mind, No Country for Old Men, The Assassination of Jesse James, The Reader, True Grit, Skyfall, Sicario, Blade Runner 2049, 1917, and a plethora of other films. He's worked a lot with the Coen brothers over the years. He also did that 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Ebbing, Missouri, or whatever. Yeah,
I think he did. I might have to.
I
look
think
that
you're
up,
right. I
but-
thought he did. I thought he was on there.
But he is an absolute fucking master when it comes to like light and being able to work within like the frame. Like 1917 is one of the most gorgeous films I've ever seen.
Yeah.
2049 Blade Runner is also Sicario. It's like
Sicario,
Sicario feels like a film that's like it would not be as good if it wasn't as visually spectacular as it is.
I don't think
and,
he shot the sequel, and you could tell.
Yeah, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
And Denis Villeneuve did not come back for the sequel either.
No,
so.
he didn't. I think he wrote it, or no, he didn't write it. I think he advised a little bit. But what's his?
I think he was a producer on it,
Yeah.
and I feel like he helped with the story, but I don't think he actually.
But
wrote
just,
anything
I
on
feel
it.
like hands down, he's the greatest all time at being able to shoot a scene and capture that tension that is being portrayed in there. I mean, Jesus Christ, just from Sicario to No Country for Old Men, some of those scenes they're to me, they look so simple the way they're set up and shot, but the fucking emotion and tension you get out of them is insane. And if anybody else had shot those movies, I don't think they would have been as good, just because the way that he's able to capture that.
There's this scene
brilliant.
in Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford where like Brad Pitt's character is up on a platform that they put in front of the train to stop the train from coming, and it's one of the best cinematography like constructed shots I've ever seen. It's just gorgeous. One of the best shots ever. I wanted to like highlight him because he has never worked on a Nick Cage movie. So we're never going to be able to talk about him ever again. We spend most of the time talking about him when he had really nothing to do with this movie.
Right. Hey, he was a consultant.
Yeah.
Consultant. Yeah. This was edited by Darren T. Holmes, who also edited The Iron Giant, one of the greatest animated films of all time, in my opinion. Lilo and Stitch, Ratatouille, How to Train Your Dragon, Wolf Walkers, which I haven't actually seen or heard of, and also was an associate editor on Robin Hood Men in Tights back in the day. It's always funny to see, like, if you really dive into people's careers to see what they were an assistant director or editor on, or were in the camera department and stuff. It's funny, like, seeing where people come from. Like, starting out with, he worked on a few different Mel Brooks movies as an associate editor, and then ended up transitioning into animated film. And then, of course, the music was by our old pal Alan Silvestri, who we talked a bit about during our Bringing Out the Dead episode way back when. One of the greatest composers of all time, wrote the theme song for Back to the Future. Who doesn't know? Like, everybody knows that theme song. It's like up there with Star Wars or Superman. Did the Avengers theme. Also, I would say for the generation now, like, that's probably about the same as like our generation with the Back to the Future theme. Did the music for Forrest Gump, The Predator, The Abyss, just James Cameron, Young Guns, list goes on and on. But hilariously, I found that he did the music for Adam Rifkin's Mouse Hunt movie.
Fuck that movie.
I think that's so funny. It's tie into our previous episode on Tuesday. Adam Rifkin somehow took that movie and ended up working with Alan Silvestri down the line. How do you just fail upwards in Hollywood like that? It's pretty crazy. Ratings, this has a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.6 out of 10 on 144 reviews, which is a lot. I don't feel like any film we've talked about this season has even come close to that many reviews. It's a pretty good sample set. Audience score is a 77%. Both of those feel a little high, but I don't know. It's hard to like. I feel like people have a hard time shitting on kids' movies. Yeah, but we're gonna
boy, do they not anymore. Times have changed. I don't know if you've seen the Garfield reviews, but they are fucking brutal.
Wow, okay.
punny, and brutal. Last I looked, it was at 33% on Rotten Tomato from critics. Yeah, they destroyed it. Anyways.
Wow. Our Metacritic score is surprisingly, it's 55%. So
yeah, it's
usually
kind of
Metacritic is kind of close to like Rotten Tomatoes, but we've talked about it many times, but like it's a weighted score with Metacritic depending on how famous the critic is, which is such a weird way to like do reviews for movies. I don't really understand that, but whatever. It's just like if one critic is really harsh with a movie, it can tank the entire movie. Yeah. Because I feel like most people, myself included at this point, because time is so limited, theaters are so expensive, and it's prohibitively hard to get to the theater for me now because I live out in the middle of nowhere. So I definitely have to look at the reviews and see if it's worth my time to go see a movie in the theater. And if it's got pretty tepid, shitty reviews, I'm not going to go. Which, explains probably a lot of other people's experience with Marvel recently is like, I don't really have the time, and if it's getting a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm probably just going to bail.
And I'm already paying for Disney
I'll watch
Plus.
it on Disney Plus when it's on.
In 3 months.
And I think like also the cost to go to the movies now is it's not as cheap as it used to be, and if you're taking a family, it better be worth your fucking time because you're gonna get whacked for $100 between tickets and concessions. Yeah,
easily. Yeah.
So I can understand why theaters are struggling right now. It's
like $15 for a popcorn is is not sustainable.
Unless it's the Dune popcorn bucket. I pay 150, I pay 115 for that.
Or the Wolverine mouth from Deadpool.
Yeah, I pay 300 for that.
IMDb gave it a 7.1. It sounds like everybody's right around like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is fair. It's a really just kind of meh movie. For $600 million at the box office, it's just, it's very forgettable.
Yeah.
I feel like the Croods 1 and 2 have been just kind of like, it's a fun time for a minute. We'll probably never think about it again. Whereas like, like a Pixar movie, you probably will keep that. You'll remember that. But I would be hard pressed. Give me 2 years, I probably won't remember a single detail from either of these movies. But,
I've seen this movie before, and I couldn't remember a fucking thing about it. I thought Guy was a part of their family. Like, that was my memory. Like, he was like the son, and he was And so when he showed up and he wasn't a part of their family, I was like, what the fuck? How did I misremember that?
I remember the sloth going dun dun dun. That's it.
I didn't even remember.
All I remember.
I don't remember Belt at all.
And a cinema score of A, which is also kind of high. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
I would expect like a B plus is what I was expecting. But,
Yeah.
Or an A minus.
A
but
minus.
That seems high. I don't know.
I guess
maybe
you
we're
take
harsh.
your kids and your kids like it. I mean, it's obviously a movie not for.
We're middle-aged guys.
Yeah, it's a movie for kids, and it's got a thin veneer of stuff parents would enjoy, but not as much as what modern kids movies do. So it's sort of like, whatever. Kids like it.
I did find myself liking it more on the second viewing, like when I was doing the breakdown and stuff. There's a charm to it, but it's also
there's heart to it. It's a good story.
I see it. I don't know. Yeah. It's all right. It's okay. Mm-hmm. We're very, we're jaded old men, so take our opinion with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to kids movies. Because aside from one of us, we don't have any kids. It's not like we're like, that we know of. It's not like we're, the target demo in the slightest. So